I love this time of the year. I know it's the end of summer, but I kind of like the end of summer feel. But the best part is domestic seasons across Europe are largely kicking off this upcoming weekend. Here are some of the Canadians that are in action next weekend. Kone and Cornelius were in Marseille. That's going to be a team to watch. Jonathan David remains at Lille. Look at that. Kyle Larin takes on ho-hum Real Madrid next weekend as well. So plenty to look forward to, but I want us to start right at the top of this board here and Alphonso Davies. And in this segment, I specifically want to focus on Alphonso Davies and Jonathan David, because both players are now entering the final year of their contracts. And it's been largely speculated over recent months that both players would be on the move. The insiders and the people that watch the transfer window all the time basically had Alphonso Davies going to Real Madrid. That has not transpired. Lille said, Jonathan David, we prefer to sell him on now to get something for him before he can go on a free and negotiate a new contract 6 months from now. They said that at the start of the transfer window, yet he remains. Let's take this one step at a time. Everything has seemingly gone quiet on Alphonso Davies. What do you make of that?
I think for the player, is this a horrible thing? I don't think so. I think he can go into this last season at Bayern Munich. I think he's going to play valuable minutes. I think he's going to show what he's worth as well. There might come to the, John, you know this as well, that awkward moment when you have 4 months left on your deal and you haven't re-signed with the club, and maybe they're starting to think about the longevity and playing players over you. But for someone like Alphonso Davies, the way he plays left back and whatever you want to say, top 1, 2, or 3 in the world, he's there. You're not going to leave him out of that conversation. He's going to find a home. I thought Real Madrid would have been that signing already. I thought he would have been signed. I thought by January in 2024 he would have been signed. But the fact that he's not, I think the world says oyster, and he's going to have a fantastic year.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. I think maybe Bayern Munich is just wanting too much money for him. I mean, he's going to command a heavy fee here. And maybe scare some guys away. I think as a player, I wouldn't mind it, though. I mean, you play out the last 6 months, or well, it's a year, but in 6 months I can start negotiating.
Yeah, pre-contract.
Right? You get signed a pre-contract, you can maybe force Bayern's hand at that point. You know, you can maybe get out early if they decide that they don't want to keep him for the final 6 months, which would be interesting play. The thing about that is that you can probably get a bit more dollars in your own personal terms, because they're not paying a huge fee for you, whatever club you go to.
It sounds like the contract is still on the table. A very rich one for Alphonso Davies, and Bayern Munich have left it there. There was some back and forth. It seemed like there was some disagreement or dissension. It was an awkward relationship. What I think is happening right now, and this is just from my perspective, I think it's actually in Alphonso Davies' interest to follow the Kylian Mbappe model. Like, okay, so Real Madrid doesn't want to spend $30 million now, but they know the player wants to go to Real Madrid. Why would they bid any more than they have to bring the player to Madrid if you were them? Like, and if you're Bayern Munich, you're just kind of held hostage right now. If you're the player, you understand you can get the contract that you want in a year's time and go to the place you want. Like, why would they open up the market? Why would, like, Premier League clubs, for example, go out and start bidding for Alphonso Davies when you know he wants to end up in one place? Yeah. It's the exact same thing that happened in Mbappe, and this is, for me, the players taking more control of their situation. So I'm playing for a top club, a club that can challenge for the Champions League and the Bundesliga next year, and then after that he can move on. So I just think that this is a situation where I think Davies is in control. If he stays at Bayern Munich another year, then he can choose his own adventure when that's done. Jonathan David's a little bit more interesting because it seems like it's been speculated summer after summer. Where is Jonathan David's next step? And we all know that he's a top player. Our good buddy DTV.
Shout out to Josh.
He's on it. Josh does so much work following all Canadian players across the board. These are some of the clubs that Jonathan David has been linked to during his time at Lille. So like top clubs as well. We just put Saudi Pro League because take your pick. Yeah. I mean, so many, even this summer. So it's an interesting one. This is not the Davies situation. There have been reports in the market. I believe Matt Hughes of The Sun in the UK claimed that there's some potentially agent fees issues that have chased him off joining a club like West Ham as well. So perhaps the way the player is being managed and the asking price to go along with the player it becomes prohibitive. Is this just the nature of a slow-moving market and potentially the fact that Jonathan David is a little bit underrated when it comes to the way that European clubs look at him?
Yeah, I think an interesting comment that I would make here is I think if he would have had a really good Copa America,
Yeah.
you know, if he scored a ton of goals, I mean, this would have helped the situation. I think maybe teams would be a little bit more willing to make a move quickly. And I think now they'll pause a little bit. And if there's an issue with, you know, agent fees, they're definitely going to pause.
Is he underrated, Wheels? I think so. I think in the European market he is. I think people look at a Canadian striker and be like, oh, like, is he going to go in and score this many goals for us? But time and time again for Lille, and in a good league, top 5 league for me in Ligue 1, he shows up. And the way that he scores those goals. But you look at that long list of teams, it's finding a perfect fit, flip a coin. Like, how many strikers even go to the Premier League, top strikers in La Liga and Serie A, go to the Premier League or whatever it might be and don't produce? Finding that fit, I think, is just it's bigger than we make it out to be. And it takes sometimes agents, clubs, all that coming together and aligning. And I hope that for Jonathan David.
It's a tough one because he's not like Osimhen. He's not Mbappe. But he scored the second most goals across European football in 2024, right behind Kylian Mbappe. Like, this guy's been at Lille and has a track record of success for so long that maybe it's his profile. Maybe it's he's a little bit too small. He's maybe not that natural finisher that other players are. Instead of looking at the things that he actually does well and how he can fit into a team concept.
Yeah.
I think that teams are missing out on what could be an absolute gem.
100%.
It's been a slow-moving market. I know he played he played qualifiers this past week against Fenerbahce. It wouldn't be surprised me if he was a player that moves before the end of the month.
Yeah.
Maybe more so than Alphonso Davies. JJD TV will be keeping an eye, and so will we. And we'll be talking about this on a